Genesis 8:20 shows us that the knowledge of God came through the flood intact because it was carried by the people who survived it. And then God gives Noah the same mandate that he gave Adam. Fill the earth, spread and multiply. But before you think this is just about populating the world, here's what that mandate is actually doing. A spreading nomadic humanity doesn't just fill geographic space, it carries something with them. Every family moving out from that original post-flood community takes with them their language and their stories and their memories, their knowledge of the God who just saved them. The scattering is more than just population distribution. The scattering is transmission. It's the way the knowledge of the one God travels into every corner of the earth, translated into every emerging language and culture, carried in the oral traditions of every people and tribe as they move outward from the center. One God, known directly, carried outward by nomadic peoples to every corner of the earth. Hold that picture in your mind for a second, because what happened to that knowledge as it traveled is more remarkable than most Christians have ever been told. Archaeology documents civilization. You can only dig up what people built or carved or buried, which means the archaeological record is almost entirely a record of urban, monument-building, institutionally organized cultures. And on the thesis of this video, those are exactly the cultures furthest from the original, the most distorted, the ones who had already buried the story under stone and empire. So if you want to find the oldest surviving religious memory, the stuff that was carried outward by nomadic peoples before the cities got a hold of it, you can't dig for it in the ruins of cities that rebelled against it. You have to go to find the people who still have it. And that's what an Austrian anthropologist named Wilhelm Schmidt did. Schmidt spent his career, and we're talking a 12-volume research project spanning decades, documenting the religious beliefs of the world's most culturally isolated peoples. Tribes of people groups that had minimal contact from surrounding civilizations. People who had never been absorbed into any empire, never had a priest class imposed upon them, never built a ziggurat. People who had just been out there, on the edges of the world, carrying whatever they carried with them as they moved. And what he found is significant for our understanding of the oldest cultural expressions of the divine. The more isolated the culture, the clearer the concept of a singular high God. Not a pantheon, not a collection of nature spirits, one God, often called a sky father, a creator, morally serious, increasingly remote, and remembered underneath whatever else the culture had developed on top of him. And the more connected a culture was to surrounding civilization, the more that high God concept had been buried under layers of polytheistic elaboration or animism. That correlation runs exactly backwards from what the evolutionary model predicts. If religion evolved upward from primitive animism toward sophisticated monotheism, then the most isolated and ancient cultures should show the least developed God concept. What Wilhelm Schmidt found was the opposite, every time, on every continent.